Alright, this is part 2 of the Camworks lesson. You just saw how this operation did the 4 holes. This second thing here that's in purple, it says contour mill. That's when it would come in a second time and just do a really fine finish cut. So if you want, you can configure that, simulate that. You can also just delete it, because it'll do the 4 holes and they'll look pretty clean. So now we're basically done with the top, except for you'll notice there is what's called a chamfer here. It's going along the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really fast, and then we'll be done with the top. So I right click, I'm going to go to I'm going to right click, go to insert a contour mill, and click the part perimeter like before, and we'll do boss just like we did at the first operation. At that point it's made, and so now generate the operation plan. After that, I'll go ahead and double click it, and this is where we need to make some changes. To actually physically do a chamfer, you're not going to be able to use a regular flat end mill. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to pick a countersink, like this one will work fine. I'll hit select, yes. After that, we have to go over to the contour tab, click chamfer, and then the length should be the same as what you typed in SolidWorks. So I'll go ahead and do 20 thousandths. So let's go ahead and see if that works. Alright, great. So you can see did the chamfer like that. So now what we're going to do is the engraving on the bottom. So far we've done everything in this mill setup called top. Now we need to do another mill setup. So I go insert, mill setup. I'll go ahead and click the bottom of this, hit the green checkbox, and here it is, mill part setup 5. I would rename this. I'm going to call it bottom, and I'll go ahead and do a new 2.5 axis mill operation, rough mill. And notice right here I have my 3 sketches, but if I change this to go to engrave feature, you'll see I have a sketch in SolidWorks called text. So it's important, any engraving you have to basically do this. So I click next. How deep do you want to go? You can probably just specify it. I'll go 20 thousandths blind, and go ahead and hit finish. Generate the operation plan. Generate the toolpath and simulate it. Alright, so it looks good. And then if I had, say, a hole over here on the side, you'd have to do another new mill part setup. So basically you need a mill part setup for every side that the machine needs to do something with. So in our case we just need 2 mill setups. Of course I can go in here and change the end mill. I could make it be a V engraving tool or something like that. So the next thing we have to do is configure the feeds and speeds. So all that's going to happen in the Camworks operation tree. So if I double click here, we've gone over how the tool works. FS stands for feeds and speeds. And if it says library or tool, I change it to operation. And this is where you can type in the X and Y feed rate. And this is where I'm going to give a conservative number now that'll be safe, but from this you'll probably be increasing it. So Camworks does have kind of a feeds and speed library, and it helps you figure things out. But to keep it simple, we're going to say for aluminum, using a 1/4 inch end mill, we're just going to do 5 inches a minute. That's a conservative number, so make sure that says 5. And then under where it says NC, there's some things in here that are important. If the rapid plane says 5 inches, that means it's going to, as you rise up 5 inches, and that might hit the upper limit switch in the CNC machine. So this number should probably be 1 inch, or possibly less. I've seen this cause some errors in our shop. The next is the contour tab. Depth parameters is really important. Basically, I think by default it's set with the percentage signs clicked, but I would unclick them, and here you're basically in charge of how much is it going to cut on the first pass, what's the max cut. And so what I'm going to say is 100 thousandths, 0.1, you know, very conservative, safe. I would start with that, and then you could have it be more aggressive as you get more experience. But it's important the percentage symbols are off, and that's at 0.1. So contour tabs really important, the feed and speeds. But you have to do that with every single one of these. So it takes a little bit of time, but you know, it doesn't actually matter the RPM, since we're specifying the feed rate. Mainly just to get 5 in there, and then make sure these guys are at 100 thousandths. So, and make sure that's not 5 inches. So you can do that over and over for all of these things, and it'll just be a safe. And we'll have another lesson talking about looking at the chips and things like that. Alright, so the next thing we have to do is post this, and I want to go over what that means. Okay, so alright, so as far as post-processing goes, you want to go over to the feature tree and double-click mill in. It's probably going to give an error, unable to open controller file. And so if we go to post-processor, what that means is basically it's code that and relates to your CNC machine. It's CNC machine specific. So when you buy a machine, it'll come with a post-processor, or someone will make it for that machine. So I'm going to go ahead and browse, and the two files for our machines are on Blackboard, and it's very clear. They're labeled. So here I have a couple post files, and I'm going to pick the one that says Techno. And it's really important right now that you hit select. Gotta hit select there. So I hit select, and now I'll just hit OK. Now you'll notice that if you have one of our 10 licenses, this will now be not grayed out, but it'll be clickable. If you have a demo version, you'll never be able to post. It's kind of how they make you pay for it. But if you have one of our 10 licenses, you go ahead and click post, and you want to change the type to be NC, and then just give it a name. I would probably put a version number on there. Hit save, and then you hit play, and all the code is generated. So basically it took all these lines of code. This is what the machine's going to basically be looking at, and it's possible to modify this, and there's some YouTubes on. If you type in G-code lesson, you can learn actually how to do this. So if I hit OK, then you might wonder where this thing's going to save at, and it'll save the same folder of where the post processor was. So here it is, and if you double click this, you can even open it up with, say, Notepad, and it'll open up. So there it is. You would take this to the CNC machine and mill your part out. So that kind of concludes the first lesson on using Camworks, and then the next step is actually go make it in the machine shop.